Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our January 2023 OC HMIS user meeting. Please enter your agency name into the chat. The following topics will be discussed in this meeting. We will review agency user fees, 2023 HIT and shelter PIT, HMIS Part 2 recertifications, meeting materials page updates, CS city fields, updating disability enrollment versus status update project. And we do have some updates on our KB, which are the project start date, project exit date, the history tab. And we have two topics for common tickets that we've been receiving, which is creating client records without client identifying information, refusing and revoking consent to share personal information. And we'll finish up with the following topics: Dropbox cleanup, data and performance management meeting agenda, and we have a holiday announcement, and we'll leave some time for Q&A, and the team will stay on for office hours. Erin can get us started.
Good morning, everyone. So with the new year, we will be sending out invoices for the 2023 HMIS user fees. You should receive them over the next couple of weeks. The payment will be due 60 days from the date of the invoice. And we will also send each agency a breakdown of the charges to their Dropbox account, and we will let everyone know when that goes out so that you can check. Next slide. And then this is just this, there's 3 different types of fees that could be charged. The first is for agencies that are receiving funding that requires HMIS participation. We do a flat fee based on the number of users that are active at your agency at the end of the calendar year. So you can see the amounts there. There's a separate charge for each agency that's a coordinated entry access point, which is $200. And if you are participating in both coordinated entry systems, it's still just one charge. You're not charged for each coordinated entry. And then the third potential charge is for agency administrators. This only applies to a couple agencies, but if you have more agency administrators active than are currently covered under our policies and procedures, then there will be a charge per agency administrator. And you will be given the opportunity to select which agency administrators you want to keep and remove one if you don't want to pay that additional charge. And so the policy states that each agency gets 2 agency administrators. And then for those agencies with a lot of clients being served, we provide an additional agency administrator for every 700 active enrollments at the agency as of the end of the year. So there are some agencies that can have more than the 2 that everyone gets. So keep a lookout for that email as well as the invoice from 211. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Erin. I don't see any questions right now, so we'll move forward. The 2023 HIT and shelter PIT reporting process will start later this month. The agencies with the following project type: emergency shelter, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, parent supportive housing, and other permanent housing, whether or not the project are in HMIS, will need to submit a HIT PIT form and data. What you can do now is review your data and ensure it's accurate. Active clients should be enrolled in your project, and inactive clients should be exited. Projects that you operate should be set up in Clarity or a comparable database. Projects that are no longer active will need to be closed out. So please submit a ticket to the HMS Help Desk so that we can support you with closing out those projects. This slide provides the 2023 HIT and Shelter Pit reporting timeline. Please plan to participate in our training scheduled for January 19th at 10 a.m. The night of the count is January 23rd. Agencies will have until January 16th to complete data corrections and data entry into HMIS and your comparable databases. January 27th, the HMS team will send out the HIC answer form and PIT draft data. The form will look a little different this year, so we do recommend that you join us for our January 19th meeting training to get an overview, and you can ask questions regarding the form. The next phase would be starting January 27th to February 10th. Agencies will review and correct the HIC answer form and PIT data as needed. And then these forms will be due February 10th. The next phase would be the HMS team will be reviewing and working with the agencies to make any corrections as needed. And the final stage would be entering the data into HDX. On March 24, the HMS team will then provide the final form for the agencies to review. You will be comparing the data is accurately entered based off of the HIC answer form. And the final phase is then to submit the final data. I don't see any questions for HIC and PIT, so I'll move forward. A friendly reminder that the HMS Part 2 recertification is due January 31st. Users that do not complete this recertification by the deadline will have their account locked. Agency admins will need to submit the recertification for each user. Users with read-only accounts or accounts created on or after June 1st are excluded from this requirement. I don't see any questions, so we'll move forward. We have updated our meeting material page. You'll see on the right-hand side the way to navigate to the meeting materials. On our website, you'll go to the meeting tabs, and then you'll have access to review user meeting materials or the data performance management material. It is organized in 3 columns. You'll see the first column is the month. The second column is our meeting materials, the meeting minutes, PowerPoints, and the recording. The new column is the agenda. You'll see that the agenda items are listed. And the third column for you to quickly search up topics that you're looking for. We have a question in the chat. Is there a list of users that need to complete the recert? So if you submit a ticket to the HMS Help Desk, then we can help you with providing that list. But you can also run the active users report on HMS to review users that are active in your agency and then the date that their account was created. But if you would like the list, please submit a HMS help ticket and then we'll provide you that list for your agency. I don't see any other questions, so I'll move forward. Diana?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be talking about the Coordinated Entry System City Field. There's been an update to the CES enrollment screen. The field, which spa is this household being served in, has been removed. A note has been added to the enrollment screen noting that the client's city prior to entry will be used to determine their spa for housing opportunities. This field is a requirement, and this field should not be edited after the enrollment. The spa will help determine which match meeting participants will appear in and which opportunities they are likely to be offered. If a participant does not have a spa, then they're unlikely to be offered a housing opportunity since clients with their spa will be sort of taken in first. And then anyone that doesn't have a spa designated will be reviewed after.
So we had a question in the chat.
Okay.
When someone needs to, this is related to the recertification, would the agency admin need to submit this? So yes, the agency admin needs to submit the HMS Part 2 recertification for each user at your agency. And we have a raised hand. Feel free to unmute yourself or add your question in the chat.
Hi, this is Shannon. I just wanted to confirm that I'm reading this correctly, that the client's city prior to entering our project will be used for their spa. So if we're in the North Spa, the client's in the North Spa, but spent the night at a friend's house in the Central Spa, immediately coming to us, they'll be enrolled for the Central Spa. Is that correct? Can anyone hear me?
Hi, Shannon. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then we had a question if we could provide the link to the research form, and the link is then added to the chat. We believe we don't have any more questions, so we'll move forward.
Okay, the updating of the disabling condition. When you need to update the client's disabling condition, there are different processes based on the type of update that's needed. If a client has always had a disabling condition, but it wasn't noted in their program enrollment, then you would need to update the enrollment screen. If the client had a change in their status after the enrollment, then you would add a status assessment with disabling condition. For additional information on updating the disabling condition field, we have a link available for our knowledge base article and video, and that will be provided in the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Diana. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward for now. Armando?
Hi, good morning, everybody. We wanted to provide a refresher or another overview of the project start date and the project start date field. The project start date is what determines when a client's period of participation with the project begins. All projects need this data element for reporting time spent participating in the project. As a reminder, there may be instances of when members in a household enrolled in the same program have a unique project start date that differs amongst the members of that household. And then this data is to be collected for all clients and for all project enrollments. On the right side of the screen, you can see an example of the enrollment screen that's highlighting where the project start date field is located at the top. And then the next slide, please. As another reminder, speaking on this, the different project types that use the project start date field differently. This is because there are some differences in the meaning associated with starting residential versus service and permanent housing projects. On the right side of the slide, you can see a chart that provides descriptions for the differences between each different project type. And then in our meeting notes, we will provide an updated link to the knowledge base article that's been revised, speaking to the project start date element and the field. If there are any questions about the start date or the project start date field, you can please feel free to include those questions in the chat window.
Thank you, Marno. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward for now. Linda?
So we also wanted to go over the project exit date as well. The exit date determines the end of a client's period of participation within a project. So day of occupancy or service. For each client enrollment in a project, there should only be one project exit date. And this is to be collected for all clients at all project exits. And you can find that field on the exit screen of the enrollment.
So it's the first date on the exit screen for the client. You'll see that it's highlighted on the right screenshot.
So for different project types, they use project exit date differently to address the difference, meaning the ending of the residential and service projects. So with each individual client within a household will have their own project exit date. Also, if one member of the household leaves a project before the rest of the household, the leaver's exit date should reflect the actual date the client left the project. And so on the right-hand side, we have a chart regarding project exit dates for the different project types. And we will also include this information on the meeting minutes so that you can take a look at more in depth of how project exit dates apply to different project types.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward. Andrew?
Good morning, everyone. There have been a couple changes made to the client history tab in HMIS. New color coding has been added to the client history tab with a new color added for coordinated entry events. So this peach color, as pictured in the right side of the screen, is going to be used to represent coordinated entry events. And for our HMIS system, that's mostly going to be matches to different housing opportunities or matches made in the bed reservation system as well. We have updated the client history knowledge base article to reflect these changes. And we've also added a small section to the KB dedicated to reviewing a client's profile for CES. And we hope that this little section will help those of you working with CES participants to review their client history to see if they're on the community queue or if they're currently referred or matched to a housing opportunity.
Thank you, Andrew. I don't see any questions, so we'll move forward. Heather?
Good morning, everyone. We've been receiving tickets regarding clients whose records have been made private, but need to participate in the coordinated entry system. Any clients who have private profiles may not participate in CES and be referred to the community queue because the community queue is hosted by the lead agencies, the County of Orange or the Family Solutions Collaborative. So in order for a client to participate in CES, the record has to be made public. In order to keep a client identifying information private, At record creation, this is done with the consent refused button. Identifying information, first name, last name, and social will be excluded from HMIS using this functionality. Elizabeth, can you back the slide? Thank you. So we're going to review how to create a client without identifying information at client record creation. So first you'll see on the right side of the screen, that top box is in the search for client screen. Click on add client and you're brought to the create a new client screen. The first thing you do here is go to the right side of the screen and you'll see consent refused and move that toggle. And what that does is fills in the client refused for social, first name and last name. And down at the date of birth, if a client want to provide their date of birth, change the quality of date of birth field to client refused. And then complete the remaining fields, gender, race, and ethnicity. And then the fifth step is to go over to permission in the upper right hand side of the screen and change that selection to no. And then go down and click add record. So please review the client creating client records without client identifying information KB for additional information on this.
Thank you, Heather. We'll just give a couple seconds to see if any questions come in. I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll move forward. Andrew?
Yeah, so adding on to that, a client does have the right to refuse or revoke their consent to share personal information. If a client you're working with is already in HMIS and would like to revoke their consent, we need to complete a few steps to anonymize their profile. So the first step would be completing the client revocation of consent form. And this form is available on our website. After you complete the form, you would need to upload the form to HMIS under client revocation of consent file category in their HMIS profile. Then you need to submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk and include the client's unique identifier. The HMIS help desk staff is then going to anonymize the client record, and we're going to remove the client's name, date of birth, social security number from the profile. And we're also going to message any agency administrators or agencies working with that client so that they know that the client's information is being anonymized. And on this slide, I just have a couple of pictures. So we have the client revocation of consent file upload screen. And then on the right-hand side, we can see what an anonymized profile looks like in HMIS. So we've removed the name, we've removed the social security number and any other identifiable information.
And then we do have a question. Do you have the form in a fillable form so the client can complete and sign the form via tablet in the field? So the form is actually a PDF. So if you have the option to add text, you can have the client fill in and sign that way. I don't see any other questions, so we'll move forward. Heather?
So the HMIS team is responsible for periodically cleaning up all Dropbox account folders. And this is done biannually in June and January. So please review your agency's Dropbox folder and download any files you wish to keep. We will be removing all files on Friday, January 20th, so please complete your review by then. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you, Heather. Linda?
So this month's data meeting will be canceled, and the emergency shelter project performance report will be published next week.
Thank you, Linda. Armando?
The HMIS Help Desk will be closed on Monday, January 16th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And we'll be back in the office to respond to any tickets and to provide assistance starting Tuesday, January 17th.
Thank you, Armando. So we do have time for Q&A. If you guys have any questions regarding any of the topics we discussed today, please feel free to add a question in the chat or unmute yourself. And if you join us a little bit later, please make sure to add your agency name to the chat box so that we can take attendance.
So I have a question about user fees. This is kind of like related to HMIS onboarding training that other regions have with Clarity. And I think the reason why it's available in other regions is that the region is paying for it. So I'm wondering, is there a way to have additional fees attached to the agency user fees and have onboard training available to that agency as opposed to have it available to the whole system if other people don't, if 211 doesn't want to pay for the training to be part of the system, and if other agencies don't want it?
So the user fee policy has to be approved by the COC board. So what we're going to be sending you is based on that. For the training that you're talking about, we'd have to look at that separately, and then if we do want to move forward with that, that would probably be a separate charge if we were to do that.
Would it be like you? How would it be to where would you have to put that charge at? Would it be on the agency or the whole system?
We'd have to look into it more.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I have a question. For users who have had their account deactivated due to it not being used, do they have to complete both part 1 and part 2 of the user training, or just part 2?
For user accounts that have been deactivated, you would have to retake HMS Part 1 and HMS Part 2, the online training course, and then complete the skill test.
Thank you.
So I don't see any more questions coming in. We just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in our next user meeting, which is February 1st. For those who would like to stay on, we will have office hours right after this user meeting. So those who don't want to participate, feel free to hop off, but we'll stay on for office hours.
Happy New Year, everyone.